Hello, welcome to AI in Action. My name is Maurie. I'm here with my husband, Jim, and it is time to talk about artificial intelligence for this week. We actually have the tech working, and
So don't
we,
jinx us.
okay, sorry. I just jinxed this. That means that Sadie's going to go grab a squeaky toy any second
Generally,
now
she
and
usually
ruin the whole
does.
thing.
She usually does.
So, all right, we're going to talk about artificial intelligence. It is November the 17th. It's on a Monday.
We're actually on time.
We're actually on time. This will drop tomorrow. So let's talk a little bit. I know that you're kind of excited about this episode. I've got the notes here that you sent me. You're so good about like putting it on a little Google document.
I know. I do research. I do all kinds of stuff, most of which no one reads.
Okay, so I would like to say that while you are preparing for the podcast this evening, I am preparing for what we are doing Wednesday of this week,
We've
making
got
sure
a few
that's
things. We
all
got a few
done.
things coming up. So why don't you go over that?
So I just wanted to make sure our audience knows that I'm not sitting on the couch eating bonbons.
You don't like bonbons.
No, I don't.
They're
So,
nasty.
okay, well, let's go over some of the stuff that's coming up because
Right.
I know I'm excited about it. Wednesday evening, through the Austin AI Alliance, in conjunction with a nonprofit by the name of Measure and also the city of Austin, we are starting a three-part series about artificial intelligence and specifically for like Austin residents. It's called Community in the Loop. It's a great concept that the city of Austin came up with. We are going to be hosting people there at our meeting on Wednesday evening, and I'm going to do get this, 20-minute crash course in artificial intelligence.
I know. I kind of was helping you build an outline for that. I think it might be physically impossible.
It might be. I'm going to have to talk really, really, really fast.
Probably.
Basically, what we cover in 2.5 hours to 3 hours and a half day training, they kind of wanted me to condense it to 20 minutes. I told them I can't do that. I'm just going to hit the high points. And
You
then
can't even give us an outline of what you're doing in 20 minutes.
you need to you just need to hush.
So
You're being a little snarky tonight.
What is the next thing you got coming up after that?
I am going to be doing a book signing on Sunday.
You got a pile of books in today.
Got a pile of books in today. All my author's copies came in, and so I'm really excited about that. I have a lady who's making cookies that are be like the title of the book and fish shaped and stuff like that.
I'm actually looking for. I'm going because I want to eat the cookies.
It's really if one person comes by the table and talks to me, I will be happy.
Yes.
Because I just love talking about the book. I actually, someone scheduled a get to know me call with me today. And the first thing they did is they held up a copy of the book and they said, "Look what I have." And they were talking to me about how they loved the layout and how I had just put everything together.
It's awesome.
It makes my heart feel good.
All right. So we also have, next week we have a podcast guest.
Yes, we are going to have Damien in. He is from it's like STEMiverse. It is a really cool STEM outreach program that he started that he's over here in the United States now. Came from Australia.
Considering how much we've done in STEM, I'm looking forward to that one.
It's going to be a good conversation.
Okay. So you're going to be on an upcoming podcast.
We've been getting a lot of people reaching out to us to have us on podcast, not just me about my book and stuff, but also just both of us talking about education. The one that I talked to today wants us to come on and talk about just what we're seeing when it comes to the higher education field and what they're doing with AI. So
I think most of them, the ones that I'm really interested in are the ones that are
technical.
A little more technical.
A little more technical.
Yeah, a little more technical. Anyway, I did get a couple, I always do the research for this. I got a couple of off-topic headlines that I wanted to go through really fast.
Okay.
And then I kind of wanted to talk about a few things that I'm interested in.
Okay. Well, this is your half hour.
Yeah,
the reason we started this podcast is
true.
so you could have a captive audience of not just me, but of Sadie and of Maggie. And
yeah, they look real excited.
You can talk about artificial intelligence, all you need.
So this is kind of starting the end of the year. We're wrapping up season 3 pretty quick.
Yes.
Believe it or not, our 3rd year. And most people about this time start their proclamations of what's going to happen.
Is Jen going to proclamate?
I tend to hesitate to do that. I know we always do toward the end. You know what? My proclamations are generally pretty spot on.
Sometimes we're going to have to pull up the episode from the end of the year last year.
Yeah, and the year
as
before.
part of the episode and see how spot on you are.
I know. I tend to get them fairly close. Of course, it never makes me any more money. You'd think I would invest in it a little more than I do. But anyway, so we probably will do one of those. But I want to get a couple of quick headlines in. This next one falls into the headline of creepy stuff. And the reason I picked this was, just to back up a little bit, I'm tired of everybody seems to talk about the same headlines. So I'm really trying to look for some that are just a little out of the way,
Mhm.
that are just interesting to me.
Right.
And this one is creepy. And the headline is New AI tool could cut wasted efforts to transplant organs by 60%. Well, that sounds good, right? Until you read about what it's doing. Basically, to summarize it all, the time between the removal of an organ, I think it's the liver they were talking about, and the time they transplant it, they have 45 minutes.
So basically, it's once someone passes away,
Yes.
the organ is viable for a certain period of time.
45 minutes in the case, I think, of a liver. So what they want to do is predict when that person's going to die better. Now,
So they can have everyone on standby.
yeah, that sounds really creepy, but they have surgeons that do it now. The surgeons literally look at the person, as I understand it now,
They're monitoring their
and
vitals.
they're
and doing
saying,
all
I
this
think
stuff.
this person's going to die at 12:01 a.m., whatever it is. The models are better, significantly better than the surgeons at predicting it. I just hope the AI never gets off the chain and starts trying to do self-fulfilling. I predict you're going to die at 12:01, so I'm going to unplug. I'm going to make the machine stop working
So
at 12:01.
I think that we need to dig into this article just a little bit
Well, not
more.
too deep, but
Well, just like
because it's creepy.
2 minutes. I think that it sounds really creepy, but I also realize that someone who is on like the transplant list, like not the transplant list, but if I am a donor, most of the time it's when they pull the plug. I mean, the plug has already been pulled.
Well,
And now
there's no
the
brain
person is
activity.
dying.
There's no brain activity.
Right. So they're taking them off of
they're taking them off life support.
and they're going to allow them to die.
But the thing that bothered me, though, there was one sentence that bothered me the most. Putting that being inaccurate on those times puts a financial and operational strain on the transplant center. When you start talking about financial strain and predicting somebody's going to die,
Following the money.
it just not only does it seem like it's following the money, it's like how far are you willing to go to make sure the money is.
Let's go ahead and they
know
haven't
what?
taken their last breath
We're
yet.
just
But
going to
let's go ahead and get this over
cord.
with.
We're going to trip over the cord.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's kind of
it seemed a little creepy.
Reaching.
It seems like it needs to be carefully monitored.
I think most things that
When it comes-
AI really need to be carefully monitored.
And then so moving on
Okay,
past
so that was the creepy one. We should have covered that one at Halloween, by the way.
We should have actually. This is a classroom view one. This was I can't remember. This was at Ed Week. How AI is influencing teacher approaches to career and technical ed. The thing that caught my attention about this one was, first of all, it said career and technical ed, so I thought, and it was sounded like it was going to be a positive article, and generally it was. But I pulled a couple of quotes that I thought were interesting. There are still plenty of CTE teachers who are resisting the integration of AI into their instruction. They're concerned the technology might hurt rather than help skill development. It's a constant battle because you don't want them to be lazy and complacent, which AI can make you. What I'd like them to explain to me is how does them refusing to integrate it into their instruction make the kids smarter? When in a world, I mean, we're going to talk about this in a minute, in a world that's dominated by AI right now, and I don't think that's changing a whole lot.
It's not going to change.
And the teachers need to be on board. And what we have been telling them over and over again, and we had a great quote, which you're about to talk about, from one of those teachers today that we've been talking to a lot about teaching the kids to be AI skeptics. How do you do that? That's what we have Agnes for. That's what we have the whole AI literacy platform that we're trying to develop is this idea that we want to teach them AI in a way that it makes them a little bit more skeptical, but yet know how to use it. Ignoring it is not
an option.
It's that ostrich method.
Yes,
I'm going to stick my head in the sand.
Yeah. Put our hands. Okay, so I am going to go find that email right now.
We don't need to because you're going to post about it.
Well, I am going to post about it, but it's just real quick. It was a great little quote that she said that she overheard.
I'm not going to use her name.
No, of course I would never do that. I would never do that.
Okay, anyway, continue.
You guys pause this video right now on YouTube because I'm about to hit him and I don't want y'all to see that. Okay.
Violence
is always the answer. So one of the things that this teacher said that they had overheard their kids saying was, "Wow, I finally have to think." What? And AI is making you think? What?
Continue.
And then it goes on to say, I have to come up with stuff against AI instead of it instead of letting it do it for me.
Which
So,
is exactly what we talk about all the time. They're used to it doing the work for them.
right,
And the only way they're going to learn its limitations
is to argue with
is
it.
to argue with it. And we've been working on this for a while, but I'll tell you, it's been a slog.
Oh,
People think the best way to learn about AI is to ignore it,
uphill
and
battle.
it's not going away anytime soon. Anyway, and we're going to talk about that next because what
No, nothing. Go ahead.
did you want to finish something?
No, it's fine.
Okay.
It's your half hour.
It is my half hour. Why Google and Nvidia are going to own AI. I shouldn't be making predictions, but I am. I don't know about 2026, but there's a lot going on. But first of all, let's talk about the bubble. We hear it all the time. We call it a wave, not a bubble, because we keep saying that all that material moving forward doesn't just vanish
Oh, it doesn't.
and bubbles pop and things vanish. Google, their revenue for the first time ever was over $100 billion in a quarter.
In 3 months.
A quarter.
That's a quarter.
That's crazy.
I have my own business. A quarter is 3 months.
The project, and they're projected to spend $85 billion for all of 2025. That's 4 quarters. They're going to spend less than 1 quarter's revenue on AI for all of this year. Nvidia, another company, they took in $50 billion in a
Who is
quarter.
it that just sold all of their Nvidia stock? The Meta guy.
Peter Thiel. He's not Meta.
He's not Meta?
No, Peter Thiel. He's a different guy. He's the
okay.
guy that said you shouldn't go to college. I'll give you $100,000 not to guy. He's a really rich guy. I don't remember what he started, but
Okay, I'm sorry, but the fact that you knew who that was, that's why I like having you to
yeah,
talk on the podcast.
he's just as likely to be doing it so he can short the stock. I don't know why he sold all of it on it. He sold all of his Nvidia stock. Maybe it's just up a lot, and he wants to buy a new yacht.
I think we're talking about a different person.
No, we're not. It's the same guy. He just sold all of his
But
stock.
he's starting his own company.
Well, he didn't sell his Nvidia stock to start. He didn't need to start his own company. He's a billionaire.
Okay.
You're mixing up two guys.
I'm fixing it two people.
Anyway, so continuing, Apple is going to pay Google $1 billion a year to use Gemini because Apple with all their money, they just can't get their act together. So they're going to use Gemini.
They're going to have to pay someone else.
And you know that there's not going to be any back channel data sharing going on because they would never do that.
Ever. They pinky
Apple's
swear.
all about privacy.
They
They
pinky
swear. So why does this matter? First of all, if you've got a company, people are talking about AI like their people are leveraged so highly that they're going to go under because they're spending it. Now you can talk about OpenAI that way potentially because they're a startup and they're burning through cash like crazy. But so did Amazon when they started. But either way, they did. But you're talking about a company like Google. First of all, Google owns all your data.
Right.
They are the data company. They made $100 billion. $102.35 billion in a quarter. They didn't make that because of AI. They made that because they own your data and advertising. The whole Android ecosystem, everything that's wired in, which is there's more Android phones out there than Apple phones. That's all wired in through Google. So they own all this data, and they're making money whether AI is there or not. Lots of it. So they're not over leveraged. Then you just put in this deal with Apple, where Apple's going to use Gemini. Now they get more data. They're going to, whether they say they're not. Even if they don't, they get $1 billion a year from Apple. And then you have Nvidia, who did $50 billion in a quarter. They've been selling GPUs a long time. They didn't just start selling them with AI.
I like the way you were talking to me the other day. Yes, we do talk about AI other than just on the podcast. You were talking to me the other day about Nvidia, and the reason that they are where they are is because of
software.
You called it something specific. It was like their development stack.
Well, it's the software stack.
Their software stack.
It is the development stack. So your term is accurate as well.
Look at you being all technical.
Please, you are technical anyway, and you know it. But anyway, they aren't just a hardware company. Any hardware company that wanted to survive learned a long time ago, including even the startup I was with, and I was with Authentic. Authentic, as much as the CEO is a chip guy, he came from Harris Semiconductor, he's a chip guy. But he also was smart enough to know that the chips without the software are useless. So we spent a lot of time and money doing what he hated to do because he really wanted to just build chips, building software tools, development tools. I mean, the whole thing, which ended up getting sold to Apple, was all about the software and the patents and all that stuff. NVIDIA has spent the last 15, 20 years, whatever it's been, building the best software stack for GPUs out there. And it wasn't for AI, it was just in general. Well, because of that, when I've seen it myself, when I go to use any of the AI large language models that I'm going to run locally, especially, it's easier to do anything that's compatible with NVIDIA. I tried that. I've tried using the Intel software stack. AMD's got their own software stack. They're so far behind because NVIDIA's been doing this for decades. So they're really, really good at it.
Mhm.
So NVIDIA's got this software stack. They're not going away. Google owns all your data. They own the Android system. They've got all your data coming in. These two companies combined pretty much own AI. And that's not Google. We used to talk about that, about kicking the bear.
Mhm.
You kick that bear long enough, you're going to wake up.
Mhm.
And Google seems to be waking up.
It really has.
And when they
Did
do
you hear
that,
about their latest thing for education that they have?
which one?
Learn My Way or Learn Your Way.
I don't think so.
It just got released. Okay, hold on.
Hold on. I
No,
got
no,
more stuff to talk about.
Well, you don't understand. I just told you something you didn't know.
Well, there's a lot of things I don't know.
Oh my gosh. I need to go write this down somewhere.
Could we move on?
You need to do some research on it. It's called Learn.
No, I don't need to. You're going to tell me
Learn Your
about it.
Way. I haven't looked into it yet. That's your job.
Oh, of
You're
course it
supposed
is.
to look into it.
Of course it is.
Send
'Cause
it
I don't
to
have
me.
enough to do.
Send it to me on a PDF.
Of course.
It's a way for a teacher to assign basically something to a student, and then the student gets to decide how they're going to learn it.
They make their own learning paths,
Yes.
which you would love to spend the whole evening talking about
We
learning
might
paths.
do that.
We're not going to tonight, though,
Well,
because you told me to do the research.
some other podcast.
The state of Texas has put in a roadblocks, these pathways, which makes it really hard for us to introduce AI.
That there is a state in the United States of America that's putting up roadblocks for education.
Yeah, that's a shocker. So
Sarcasm.
just to talk a little bit about what's coming next. So we've talked about, I said, Google and Nvidia are going to own the space, and a lot of it has to do with software stacks. Google has Google Workspace. Google, integrates. They have their own TPUs. They got their own hardware too that they use for themselves. They've got massive amounts of server. They got data. They got everything. Nvidia, they own the software stack. They own the GPUs. So these two companies own so much. So let's talk a little bit about what they're doing next.
Okay.
Well,
now, are these your predictions, or is this actually what they say they are doing?
They are
next?
doing it, and my predictions based on what they're doing because I think it's so important.
All right, here we go.
There is a tool that NVIDIA has been working on for a while. It's called Cosmos, NVIDIA Cosmos Research. It's a comprehensive platform whose purpose is to build physical AI systems that interact and understand the physical world. It features generative world foundation models, that world models thing. I've mentioned that several times. Safety guardrails, Basically, what this thing is for is, and I don't think this is I think they started it for video gaming.
To try to like it's almost like that Nicolas Cage movie where can see 3 minutes into the future, and so they're thinking of it like a video game. It's like
where you can simulate all possible outcomes,
all the possible
which is what he does in that movie.
That's
a really good movie.
It's a really good movie. What was the name of it?
Has Jessica Biel and Nicolas Cage.
It was called. I don't remember what it was called.
Well, we'll think of it in a minute.
Oh well.
So, but basically what I'm seeing with this, just like the NVIDIA owns the stack now, which allows you to use these language models, the next thing that's coming, and this is what they talk about, it enables AI systems to predict, reason about, and generate synthetic data for real-world physical scenarios. Do you know how hard it is? Because I've done this. I built my own little robot that tried to run over you.
Yes.
I built my little robot, and that Jared and I worked on. It took off across the golf course with him. And what Jared and I were trying to do, the first time I touched machine learning on my own, I was trying to teach it how to see better and learn its environment a little better. This was a hard problem.
I remember printing out the little thing for the back of
I wanted to recognize my face. I was using OpenCV, and I wanted to recognize my face. And so our oldest son goes, well, Dad, why don't you put your face on a T-shirt?
Well, he didn't quite say it that way. He said you should put your face on your bottom.
He wanted to put it on my butt.
It made sense, though, because if the robot's following you,
it can see me.
It's not going to recognize the back of your head.
It's doing facial recognition. I could do a whole podcast just on that particular one. But anyway, it's hard to train these AI systems to learn the physical world. And the hardest thing to do right now is to really get these things into the physical world in a way that's meaningful. You can put them in a business, but how useful is it when you're trying to integrate it into all the business systems?
Right.
And when you start trying to actually have physical things along with that. Look at the school district. We're trying to, I would love to be able to teach it some things uh, about the layouts of our campuses, or something where
Your network
I could have my
structures.
network structure, and they're doing that kind of stuff. But teaching those AI models this stuff is hard.
Right.
And it's what have I started doing a lot these days? I've done a few of them. I did one recently. I built a Maurie simulator recently.
Yes.
So
It was actually rather creepy.
I'm starting to build simulations. I'm doing it for similar reasons that everybody else is probably going to start doing it. That's why I'm predicting this.
So let's take a step back for just 1 second because we're only about 20 minutes in.
Okay,
I'm going to take a step back.
Some more data.
Okay, I'm going to take a step back because I think one of the things that these simulations is going to help with the most, specifically for ed tech stuff, is because if you simulate all the different scenarios, you don't miss as much. And that's one of the things that I think a lot of companies who are putting products out there,
The product spec is hard to
the
build.
product spec it's really hard to do.
It is.
Because you just cannot take into consideration all the different stuff that's going to happen in a day.
Well, and you need to play with it a little bit. So when I built the first simulation was a classroom, a day in the life of.
Mhm.
And I created the simulation in a way where you could inject something in it, like, oh, by the way, there's a fire alarm, or oh, by the way, and it would redo the simulation based on that. Now, I didn't invent fire here, but it was very useful because you and I know a lot about classrooms. So it
You
was
realize that that's what was the impetus for me to do my book,
my simulator.
your simulator.
Oh, the day in the life
the
of.
day in the life of, and when we started talking about what actually could occur in a classroom, and I started pulling from all my prior knowledge of having been a teacher, and started
You
talking
built your own
about
simulation, except yours was based on real stuff. Yours wasn't a simulation.
exactly, but it kind of helped me think. A lot of those incidents, AI
How do you articulate the?
might not help.
Well, and the thing is that when you throw those into, that's why a lot of the technology they put in schools doesn't work. Because I mean, we could go through examples right now of stuff we've tried in very specific ways that we know it'll be used in the classroom.
Right.
Like one of the ones we did recently was the teachers having something that they connect, they disconnect, they connect, they're
Right.
using it,
Like
they
a
lay it down. It was a tablet, and a lot of several of the TVs we were testing, they were fine if you stayed connected, but if you connected, disconnected, reconnected, disconnected, pretty soon it would lock up.
That if you opened up multiple tabs, it would lose the connection, and they
Or
would have to
the-
reconnect, and
yes.
you lost the class, and then
Because you have
dogs and
7
cats
seconds.
are living together.
So my point is, and just like when I built the Maurie simulator recently, because we're trying to simulate the business processes, because you've got all this stuff you're trying to do, and these simulations, and that's what these people are talking about. And the next one I looked into was, again, talking about, I think somebody's dreaming over there.
Sadie's dreaming.
She's chasing Neo. The DeepMind, which is the inventor pretty much of the language. Well, they're not. They wrote the paper. That the
Right.
attention is all you need paper. They are also getting deep into simulations. See what I did there?
DeepMind.
Deep.
I
Anyway,
see what you did.
they are building all kinds of simulators. And a quote I got from some research I did was Google DeepMind is moving beyond traditional narrow AI training methods by simulating the unpredictability and complexity of the real world within virtual game worlds. So all this knowledge about gaming, again, we're talking about world models, we're talking about simulations. But when you start building a product spec, which is how I think everybody's going to start doing it. I know I've started doing it that way. When I build a product spec, I build a simulation first. Because I gave you that picture, that funny picture.
It was.
That picture's old. It's been around since probably the 70s.
They were like,
it was a
designing
tire swing.
A tire swing.
It was a tire swing. And it said, what the engineering built, what marketing asked for, what sales, wanted, and it got down to what the customer wanted, which is just a tire swing.
Right. There
But
were some really complicated
there was some,
swings
it was like
hanging from
on
that
both
tree.
sides of the tree, so you'd run into the tree. I mean, the point is that the communication is really, really terrible
breaks down.
between humans, and it breaks down when you start talking about product spec. Simulations allow you to play with it.
Okay, do you remember the old game that our oldest son used to play?
Yeah,
called
Sim
City.
City or Sim something.
City. So basically, Sim City was, all these different simulations that humans were creating in the game. Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like Minecraft.
Well, now they just have AIs doing what the humans were doing.
Well, a lot of what the work they're doing is because, all the gaming people are trying to get it to where the the NFC,
NPRs.
NPRs, non-playable NPCs, non-playable characters.
Yes. NPC?
NPC.
NPR.
It's NPC. NPR, I think that's a station.
I think it is a
Isn't that
radio
like a
station.
news station or something? Anyway, NPCs are trying to make it where they have AI behind this. So the NPCs are getting smarter kind of
Mhm.
thing. So I think a lot of this started out that way, but it's also a really good way to build even business processes and stuff because you can simulate it.
Mhm.
So DeepMind's doing it. Google and Nvidia is doing it. So we got Google, we got Nvidia. I talked about them owning it. These software stacks they're working on, it's going to be a big deal. It's going to, again, unless AMD and Intel are working on those, they haven't even finished the one Google's had for, Nvidia's had for 10 years. Do you really think they're going to catch up on these world simulations? Because I know Nvidia's putting a ton of money into this.
So you're saying that Intel and AMD are not going to catch up anytime
I
soon?
think they're going to have a real difficult time. From what I've seen, they're very, very slow with these stacks. And they're trying to, I don't even know how, if I was running those companies, there would be some people that would be unemployed. If I was running their software development stuff, there'd be some people that are unemployed because I think they've got a lot of people in there that are the not invented here problem, where they've got, we've got to do everything from scratch. And I don't think the impression I got was they don't care whether or not they have any level of compatibility. I mean, Nvidia just invested in Intel. Surely they can cut a deal where they can do some kind of compatibility thing between what Intel's doing and what Nvidia has, that a layer so they work better together. And maybe they're already working on it, but I sure haven't seen any indication of it. So the last one I pulled was Amazon, and Amazon's trying very hard to stay relevant in the AI space, and they're having a hard time.
I think they are.
But
yeah.
one of the things that they did that goes along with this same idea of the world building is that they have an immersive learning tool that they've built. I think they're still doing. They've got AWS, like for example, AWS Cloud Quest, which AWS is Amazon Web Services, I think is what it stands for. This is an open world 3D role playing game. You become a cloud practitioner in virtual city. As you move through the city, you encounter citizens who need help with various technology problems. It's a training tool. Now, training simulations are not new, but when you throw AI into these training simulations and you start having a lot of variables coming in, you start seeing things before you spend a whole bunch of money developing the wrong thing, like the tire swing. You end up with a whole lot better idea of what the product really needs to look like. You let people play the game.
Right.
And learn more about it. They have one called Industry Quest.
I was telling Jared the other day about the old movie, The Last Starfighter.
Oh yeah,
The Last Starfighter.
The graphics for the day were considered cutting edge.
And also, it was a kid who went and played a video game,
and the winner of the game,
they were testing to see if he was good at what they needed him to do.
They wanted to recruit him to be a real starfighter.
Exactly.
I remember because I'm almost certain, just to date myself, that the graphics they generated for this energy wall or whatever was on a Cray YMP supercomputer back when Cray was relevant.
Yeah.
And because they had one of those at A&M when I was there, they had a glassed-in room you could walk by and put your nose up against the glass. And,
all right, so our 30 minutes is almost up. The reason I know is because I'm starting to yawn.
Hey, now, be nice. So mean to you. You are, and you wonder why I was snarky. So we've got NVIDIA, hardware space, software stacks. They got it. World simulations. If you're one of those people those kids that started following us after A&M because they're business students.
Yeah.
If you want to start looking at things to invest in, these two companies aren't the only thing that are doing these world building simulation stuff.
And don't make the mistake that we made.
Of not investing in anything?
Exactly. I mean, I can remember when we were we were not raised with financial literacy.
You got that right.
Okay. My side of the family, my parents did quite a bit more than yours because they at least had like some bonds and things that they.
Well, my family just said, go to college, get a degree, everything will be fine.
And they just left it. But when we started looking into buying stock, I can remember you and I making a comment. Well, I can only afford to buy 10 shares. And 10 shares is going to get us nothing. 10 shares is not going to get us nothing. But it would have. So it's like if you're looking at something right now, like an Nvidia.
Nvidia is very high right now,
it's
though.
Really high.
So who else can you look at that's other than Nvidia?
But if I could afford 2 two shares of Nvidia that's really high and
Maybe
it's
it'll
still going to
split.
double, or it's going to split, or it's going to,
You know, my what I would say to you if you're looking at AI, especially if you're looking to build a startup, there's a lot of room in this market. The simulation market, there's a massive amount of space in it. And the reality is it's very hard to come up with really, it's always been hard because I've done it many, many times. It's hard to come up with a really solid spec. And one of the things, if you're going to use AI as a development tool, your spec needs to be really good.
yeah,
But if you just start with verbalizing the spec to it, and you just got to kind of start talking about it, it tends to overcomplicate everything.
it really does.
And I use three different AIs to do things, and it goes off into very complicated in a hurry. The simulations can help you kind of solidify your thoughts to where when you build that product spec and you build it interactively with the AI, but I use the simulation as part of the context when I start building it. And so
So
I come out with
tell our audience what it is that you're working on now when it comes to a simulation.
the Maurie one.
Yeah.
Well, again, I mentioned earlier, it's the business process stuff. There's so many different things. I want a virtual assistant for you. And so what I was trying to do is a day in the life of Maurie.
Here's the story. Here's the story. I have told you 100 times or more that I don't want like a separate vacation home or a Lexus or something like that. I will know that I have arrived when I can afford to hire a personal assistant.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. So you are like, well, let's just create one instead.
You know, why would you hire one when you could build one?
Someone when you can build something. But the simulation that you had me listen to it because you love doing things.
I do the simulation, then I turn it into a podcast using
Right.
Notebook LM,
No,
so you can
and
listen.
so when I was listening to the simulation and it was going through wake up at this time and get to the office by this time and you have this appointment, you have that appointment, then you have to do this, and oh, by the way, you had a flat tire, and it's like throwing things in that would
Yes.
happen in an
Phone
actual
call
life,
with the weird
a phone
moment.
call, and yeah, I'm sitting here going, damn, I'm a busy person.
You are a busy person. And that simulation was actually mild. I mean, you've had much worse days than that
Yeah.
simulation. I didn't throw in a lot of the variables, but it was a fun simulation to
It
run.
was fun.
And what it does is I'm trying to use it, or I've been using it to draw some boundaries
Right.
around what this virtual assistant, because there's virtual assistants already out there.
Mhm.
The problem I have with using one that's canned is that they've tried to do too much with it,
Right.
and it becomes jack of all trades, master of none.
Right.
It's a
And I
typical
need a master.
it's a typical Microsoft
Right.
approach.
After
Throw the
listening
kitchen
to
sink
that
at it.
simulation, I understand now why occasionally I walk out of the house and my house shoes are still on.
And you're running into walls and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I do. I understand.
We're out of time.
Yes, we are. Anything else you want to cover real quick?
No, I've got it. Well, when I built this material, because I am experimenting with one more thing, which
Jim
is
experimenting with
well,
something else.
I listened to Network Chuck. I like
Yes.
Network Chuck.
Yes.
And Network Chuck did a video recently about using the command line, which for people who aren't techies, that maybe mean nothing. But the command line to run Gemini, Claude, and Codex on the command line, it's usually done for coding. But he was showing a process where he builds a lot of his material for his YouTube channel and stuff. He doesn't write the material, just like us. He just uses it to help him.
Right.
But what he was doing with it, because he was doing it at the command line, like having Claude call Gemini to cross-check thing, was really cool. So I started using it today, the command line. I've never tried it before. And I did this research using the command line. Why is that cool? Because I can have it create the output of what it does as a markdown file on my local machine, and then I can run scripts that pull it in to a knowledge base. I mean, I could do all kinds of cool stuff.
Okay, you just totally geeked out.
I can go much deeper than that, but I won't tonight.
My name is Maurie. I'm here with my husband, Jim. Thank you so much for joining us for AI in Action. We hope that you guys have a marvelous rest of the week.